We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars Wrestling Show, episode 350. I'm your man behind the microphone, Jeff, Scholar Jeff. To my left, or should I say right, depending on where you are on the screen, the one and only, the undisputed scholar himself, Mr. Tarek, Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are you doing this evening, sir?
The way you said that, just Tarek, Scholar Tarek. Just think of a James Bond intro. I'm doing relatively fine, fool. I'm just going through this week and thinking, wow, it was both like certain things happened, but it was nothing completely, oh my God, this is definitely something worth talking about show compared to how it was last week.
Mm, I don't know. I think that this is one of those weeks where it definitely depends on who you are and who you talk to. Because there were some absolute high points in my book about this week in the world of wrestling. And of course, we being the scholars of wrestling, we got to talk about it all. And if you, for those of you watching at home, if you saw the title card and the title of this episode, you know what we're here to talk about. But we got to go in chronological order here because that's how we handle things in Scholars of Wrestling show. So let's get into this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, which I know you just happen to really, really love. Just absolutely love this. I mean, who couldn't be overjoyed with such glorious things as Natalia and Tamina defeating Eva Marie and Dewdrop, and then Natalia gets horribly injured, and then Karrion Kross defeats my boy Keith Lee. I mean, how could you not enjoy such a spectacle, sir? How could you not enjoy it?
It was such a spectacle. I had to post a video of me taking the show off of my list of things to DVR. It was that made that much of an impact on me. But it's not exactly the way WWE was really hoping it would have left an impact on me. I mean, at this point, it was just that final straw. I'm like, you know what? I honestly don't watch Raw live anymore. I don't even watch the DVR recording unless there's something that's just something I had to see for myself on the TV that is not on the WWE's YouTube channel. But my God, I just couldn't anymore. There was just so many things that just kept making me just face palm over and over and over again. It's like, why is your forehead all red? Nobody react when I'm about to tell you. I think that kid might be the Avatar.
So break it down for us just a little bit right now. Out of all the dreck that WWE is and can throw at us, what if any was the one moment that finally made you say, "Okay, I'm done." Click.
Honestly, it was the moment where I was just pulling a Peter Griffin, making it halfway through failure to launch, was just having Bobby Lashley basically pull a Roman Reigns because Bruce Pritchard running both shows is the best thing they could have done. Him just saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to face you, Bill Goldberg, at SummerSlam." And then out comes Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin wanting a shot, and Bobby Lashley just eating them. And I've made it perfectly clear on this show in the past how much I was loving the Hurt Business and how happy I was when Lashley first won the title and Benjamin and Alexander were the Raw Tag Team Champions. I was ecstatic. I was super happy. I'm like, this was just perfect. And then they had to completely ruin it. And I felt this was just the biggest insult. Just like, oh yeah, you remember that last thing that you loved that we were producing? Here's us just rubbing it in, just twisting that wound that I gave you months back. At that point, I was just done. I was done with Raw. I'm I've reached my wits end on and my as I'm calling it Vince McMahon's WWE. I can't take it anymore. I can't deal with Natalia and Tamina versus Eva Marie and Dewdrop. Even though, to be fair, I thought the little the Lily thing actually got a laugh out of me, but it was just like, this is so bad that I have to laugh at it.
Yeah,
And
this is absolutely one of those things where okay, it's at least they're trying something here, but at the same time, like I was telling you off off screen, this is at WWE at this point, I am way more invested in individual characters than I am at the company at large. And for me, even though it wasn't a total deal breaker, finally getting my boy Keith Lee back and he just loses back to back. It's as much as glad as I am to see Keith Lee back. This certainly does not bode well for either him or any of my guys.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty exactly that. And no, and knowing the details that were before this actually happened. I mean, it was supposed to be Karrion Cross versus Jeff Hardy again, with Jeff Hardy winning again, and it's just leading uh, to Scarlett joining up with him. It's like, oh, he needs her to be a successful, unstoppable beast. But again, it's just the man has been built so strong in NXT to just basically make it all worth jack shit on Monday Night Raw. It just leads to the question on why even bother with anything, because nothing matters. Nothing. Vince McMahon just wants moments, which is what comes from the biggest story that happened on Raw is that Nikki ASH proving she does not deserve the Raw Women's Championship.
And then you wonder why people boo her. Like
Yeah.
it's not that people necessarily hate the superhero gimmick, even though I'm not personally a fan of it. It's because they're treating this like an absolute lame joke. And then they wonder why it's not getting over. I mean, come
Well,
on.
that's the problem. It is a lame joke. The gimmick is a lame. I'm glad Nikki Cross is it was her idea, her pitch, and she's having the time of her life doing it, and good for her. But I still stand by the fact that I hate it now. I hate it. Uh, this is a character that did not deserve to win the women's Money in the Bank, and this is not just coming from the fact that it cost me the Scholars Championship. This is I would have felt the exact same way even if the belt wasn't on the line between me and Brian. Uh, I think this was a terrible choice. It was just another waste of the women's Money in the Bank, and especially at the idea of it, her saying, "Okay, I have this contract. I'm not there yet. I'm almost a superhero, but when I feel I'm ready to take that step and actually become a superhero, then I will cash in and prove the world that the dream can come true." But no. Oh, Charlotte's down. Crossbody. 1, 2, 3. I'm the champion. Oh, it turned out to be a complete mistake, and Charlotte completely destroyed her on Raw. But she's still able to show, oh, I'm not worthy of being Raw Women's Champion. That's pretty much what I got from her closing promo. It's like,
Yeah. And
waste of
just
goddamn time.
it's just there's so much here that just does not bode well. And especially since what we're just talking about with Karrion Cross, looking ahead to NXT, it's very clear what they're doing, especially after last week where Samoa Joe gave up his job as an enforcer. Sign, here's a new contract. I'm a wrestler now. Give me Karrion Cross.
Why do
It's
we? Why
it's
does
very
Joe have to
obvious.
care?
It's very obvious. They're just going to have the match so Samoa Joe can become an NXT champion again, and then they can move Karrion Cross up to the main roster for some reason.
It's pretty much just everything that's being decided right now. It creative wise in WWE is just continuing to just sink their ship lower and lower and lower to the point where I just don't like they are. I know Vince doesn't see AEW as quote unquote competition. And granted, I don't think either company should look at each other as competition. I mean, we want more wrestling, but god damn, if you continue to book like this, and when it comes to the point where they need wrestlers of today to be that nostalgia act as what they're doing with Goldberg and Cena, they're not going to have anything like that because they book their superstars so bad that no one, people from the like at this time of the future, they're not going to be anything special. There's nothing special about any of these wrestlers, and it's it's hurt to say because we know for a fact that there are actually good things about these wrestlers that could make them superstars, but WWE's books them to the point where they are completely irrelevant. They aren't worth anything. And that's just something I really hate to say because I've said it before. WWE has had one of its best rosters in recent memory, and they're just booking them so irrelevant that you have something like Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, which in NXT would have been such a big deal, but now it's just actually they main evented NXT, right?
Oh yes, they absolutely have.
Yeah, and that was great. And then you look at this; it's barely anything from in front of the casual audience, the Raw audience, and yeah, it's just you just look at it and you just see there's just no consistency, and it's just you just look at it as really just as a pretty much a civil war in WWE. You got the main roster versus the NXT, and it's not like a gimmick or anything. It's just some people between the roster and higher ups butting heads of just, oh, let's try and make ourselves relevant. And the wrestlers who do make themselves relevant on their own, WWE just squishes that and ruins it to the point where, oh, I was cheering, the fans were cheering you before, naturally getting over, and now you were not so much because now you kind of ruined it. And that's how we even see Drew McIntyre now. He's in his feud with Jinder Mahal, something they both wanted, but it's booked really ridiculously to the point where, oh, come on. Now I want Drew back in the title picture, even though this character sucks.
Yeah, there's always it seems like with the WWE in on their main shows, at least, it always seems like there's very little in the way of continuity and rewarding your audience for paying attention and all of that stuff. But at least in NXT, there's still some semblance of coherency and knowledge of timing and whatnot. Because again, we also got a Dakota Kai heel turn on this past week's episode of NXT, presumably leading up to a title match between her and Raquel Gonzalez for the title at the next takeover.
Which makes perfect sense when you look at it, because she really has, Raquel really has gone through pretty much the women's roster. There's really nowhere else to go except the one person who is right next to you. And they're going to put on a great match.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that match.
But speaking of great matches, we also got the complete opposite from AEW this week, where we got my favorite match of the week. You know it. You love it. Jericho versus Nick Gage. I still can't believe this match happened, but damn, I'm glad it did. I watched this thing like 3 times just to confirm that it actually happened. I mean, I'm well aware that death matches and that kind of style is absolutely not your thing. I can't remember. Did you say you were able to catch this match? Did you see any of it?
Oh, I watched it and then I stopped because I just wasn't it just wasn't my thing. I saw the pizza cutter Domino's thing was a very
was amazing.
It was a hilarious accident. You couldn't plan it that you couldn't plan that any better. And I even told you before we started recording, like I get why Domino's made that statement. It's completely understandable. I mean, there's a difference between pretty much like the backyard death match, just light tubes and glass, and just basically destroying each other's bodies just to see who can be the bloodiest. I don't. That's just that is all not at all my not my thing. I don't think. Oh yeah, pizza cutter to gash a 50-year-old's forehead is entertainment. I don't.
And as much as I understand that mindset, this I can't help but see that there's some benefit to that kind of style. Obviously, it's just a bunch of like mindless, just like graw smash and blood and whatever. Obviously, there's a risk. Obviously, there's a sense of escalation where like how much can you really do with this? But in this particular instance, this whole thing of worlds colliding is actually worked for me, where you've got the traditionalist in Chris Jericho versus a sort of new school slasher kind of guy in Nick Gage. And I couldn't help but enjoy it, even though a lot of it was kind of hard to watch. My wife poked her head in during while this match was on, and she was just like, "Is that glass?" It's like, "Oh, that's sick." And then that was the exact moment that Nick Gage started breaking light tubes. I'm like, honey, don't you need to jump in the shower or go to the bathroom like right now?" Like, but even
I will I will give it to
good.
them. I will give it to them that I've always hated the light tubes and just the harm, not just from the glass stakes, just the chemicals that are in those things. I've read that they basically clean those things out of all the chemicals. So yeah, it's just more glass that they have to worry about, which doesn't really help, but at least they appreciate the chemicals that could give people cancer they got rid of. So I'll give them points for that. And yeah, this and I like that Nick Gage, out of the people who responded to the Domino's statements, like I apologize if I offended you. That's just that's just what I do. More I appreciate that more than like Moxley and Matt Cardona's response to it. I saw your retweeting of his picture. It just seems just kind of bitter. It's like it's a it's a it's a company. I understand why it, and if they don't want to deal with that, good. All right, then take their business elsewhere. Don't just be like, oh, you should just suck it up, and Nick Gage would be a great spokesperson for Domino's. And my response is, not really. For maybe like like maybe the 5% of the world that are of the country that are wrestling fans, sure, but not for everyone else who's looked down on us like, who the hell is this guy? It's not gonna draw them fans. At least not the way John Moxley was throwing it.
Well, again, to be fair, John Moxley also, I believe his exact quote was, "What? Nick Gage can't sell you pizza?" Well, not for nothing. Nick Gage sold me pizza. I made a pizza. I showed it to you. I was like, you know what? It actually works for me, but the same deal. Even Nick Gage made it look cool. His apology was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm too hardcore for TV." Well, like, yeah, it's sort of like, and not for nothing, the ratings actually did show that there was a big spike in viewership during the Jericho Nick Gage match. So clearly that there's some interest in this. Again, it's not for everybody. It's not the kind of thing that you break out all the time. Absolutely not. But for what it was, for the storyline purpose that it held, and just the role that it played in the whole Jericho storyline, and not it made sense for the part in the story that it was. It gave Nick Gage, who at this point I've heard it said this, and I absolutely agree, that he's like a nicer New Jack. I think we were even talking about this during his Dark Side of the Ring episode, where it's like, yeah, he's hardcore, but he's not gonna like go off script and start stabbing somebody for real.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, in my mind, I see Nick Gage making all the moves that New Jack should have made but did not, and he's getting paid for it. And I feel like even if it's just like for one day, he got money from a big name wrestling company. He got some recognition. He got his name out there. Yeah, it's not for everybody, but considering where he came from and where he bounced back from, I loved the match. I loved what it produced, and I just loved it all around. Even if we never see it again, this was undisputably my moment of the week by a mile.
I think my moment of AEW was Luchasaurus giving a German suplex to three men at the same time, because that's just something you're never going to see again.
This just in, Luchasaurus is awesome. Like,
yeah,
again, to me, that's not news. Nick Gage showing up and taking a pizza cutter to Chris Jericho's face, that is news. That's something we're probably never going to see again, for better or for worse.
That's something that's only going to be talked about on this show, and this will never be brought up again ever. Really.
Until the next time Nick Gage does something, I'll bring him up. Because I'm turning into a Nick Gage fan. I'm sorry. Like, now that we lost New Jack, I've got my new outlet for hardcore now. I dig it.
You're pretty much just saying, "Oh, bring that one kid who jumps on shit because he's hardcore."
He's hardcore. He's hardcore. Wait, one kid who jumps on shit? Who are you referring to now?
You know, the one kid who takes off his shirt, yells, "Fuck this shit," and jumps on barbed wire and.
That kid, like the kid from YouTube. Like,
yeah.
I don't even remember his Billy.
I don't care what his name is.
I don't know. But anyway.
It's the same thing on that one. You're going to pretty much like, oh, yeah, he's a hardcore guy. He has to get his name out in the world.
Not all hardcore guys are built the same. Like, not everyone, even back in the day, not everyone was Mick Foley. Not everyone was Terry Funk. Not everyone was Sabu. Like, yeah, there was hardcore, but then again, when it's done right, I do believe that, you know what, it's a different type of psychology. If you're just smashing each other over the head with stuff and just like doing stuff like that, then I'm convinced you're doing it wrong.
I will give it to Nick Gage. I don't like his style, but I do appreciate that he's good at telling stories in the ring. And that's just something more than I can really appreciate. That, again, the man knows how to tell a story, and
apparently the man knows how to sell pizza too.
Oh no. It was the Domino's commercial that sold me on Domino's.
I'll tell you what.
Pizza cutter.
I'll tell you what. Pizza cutter or no, I absolutely would have gotten Domino's if I wasn't surrounded by literally 2 other mom and pop pizza shops in my town that delivered consistently better pizza for the most part.
Hell, I don't need a commercial to get Domino's. I love this shit.
Yeah, my Italian wife would raise an eyebrow or 3 if I ever tried to do that. But hey, that's another story for another time. Hi, honey, love you. But in all seriousness, that was not even the only big surprise that sort of shocked me. Like, yeah, we knew that Nick Gage was gonna bring it, but I have to ask, did you expect at all that we were going to see, pre-recorded or not, a promo from Hiroshi Tanahashi on AEW challenging Lance Archer for the IWGP US title? I did not see this coming at all. Like,
I didn't see it coming so quickly. I didn't see it coming so quickly. I knew it was inevitable. It was just inevitable that Tanahashi was going to show up.
Well, I guess you're a better man than I, because I didn't see that one coming at all. Like maybe it was just my focus that was so much on everything that was happening with the trials of Jericho and Nick Gage and all that, and it almost like Tanahashi. Whoa, oh man! But the question I've got is this going to show up on AEW television, whether as a pre-tape or whatnot, or is this just going to be a New Japan exclusive? Do you think?
I could see it being both. Hell, I can probably see making it a special event and having it be on both like NJPW and AEW YouTube channels as like a special event. At least that's how I can see it. If not, it'll probably be another. It'll probably save it for like All Out or something, big event.
A thought just occurred to me. What if this partnership with New Japan was part of getting Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk to come back? Punk, maybe yes or no, give or take. But if the rumors are to be believed, Bryan Danielson wanted to work Japan again before he retired. So what if this was like the thing that they're leading up to? What if this was the thing that brought him in?
It most likely is, especially since the WWE Japan deal fell flat. That was pretty much, I said it last week, that was pretty much the moment that just completely ended Bryan Danielson's WWE career. It's like, oh, I'll just go to the, the company that actually is in a working deal with New Japan. So it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard of a decision.
Well, going back to WWE for just one moment. Of course, we did just come back from SmackDown this evening. Again, we are taping on Friday. And at long last, we finally got the return of my girl, Sasha Banks. Finally, and she teamed with Bianca Belair, then she turned on Bianca Belair, and it looks like we've got our rematch set for SummerSlam.
We knew that was happening. We at least knew on the SmackDown side what the women's championship match was going to be. The fact that we now have a triple threat on the Raw women's side is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, at this point, like I said earlier in the show, I'm really drawn to individual personalities I'm a fan of. And I am very much glad that Sasha Banks is back. I don't care what she's coming back from. I heard some rumors. Hopefully they're true. But at the same time, right now, I'm just glad I got Sasha back. Like now we're slowly getting back to normalcy here until I get the Fiend back and Lacey Evans, then I'll be complete. But this is a good step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. You can't argue with that, can you?
I wouldn't say it's a step in the right direction. It's just
Sasha Banks coming back is not a step in the right direction.
It's just
it's certainly improvement.
It's just a step. Step moving forward in a random direction that actually has no direction.
And of course we finally got this contract signing through the shenanigans. First, we were going to get the Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns match, but then Finn Balor loses the contract when he gets attacked by Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is about to sign the contract for a title match. Then John Cena runs in, attacks Baron Corbin, and then Cena signs the contract. That's how contracts work. And now we're getting him versus Roman at SummerSlam.
I will say that I'm actually kind of disappointed that they're kind of continuing this Baron Corbin character as a heel. I kind of was hoping that they would have worked their way and having this be a face turn for the guy. I mean, what more can this man do as a heel?
I'm sure he's got something left in the tank. He's already doing something new. He's sort of a
He's a loser.
sympathetic heel. Yeah.
He's a loser. And I felt like this is just the steps to turning him face, especially after what happened last week with Kevin Owens actually legit feeling sorry for him, giving him money only to have it be stolen by Ziggler and Rude. I thought we were going to just get something out of that, but
But then again, I also see what they're going for now. After they've done it for a second week in a row, where he almost looks like a choosing beggar, if that makes sense. Where John Cena gives him looks like he gives him a couple $100 right out of his pocket, and it's like, oh come on, can't you spare some more? You're rich. That's nothing. Can't you make me like your stunt double in the Suicide Squad or something?
I was really hoping for a Sandow reference, but
we're probably not going to get a Sandow reference for quite some time, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. The second someone said stunt double, how could someone not think? I'm sorry. I don't think Cena would have had a hilarious reaction. I see Damian Sandow working as a better stunt double than you.
But then they would just put more eyes on NWA, and they don't want to do that. Ooh.
Well, if he was wrestling under Damian Sandow, sure, but I don't know.
Hey, we can't win them all.
I don't even know why it popped in my head. I got the Ray base.
Oh, wow.
Paul Buchanan.
There's another. We're breaking out all the obscure names tonight. Paul freaking Buchanan.
I got the Ray base.
See, this is what happens when WWE doesn't give us enough to work with on our programs. We make our own stupid crap up. When you need to give us that stupid crap, WWE, it's your responsibility. We demand it as fans.
Now I can just imagine Baron Corbin's character just showing how much more. I got bit by a dog and got the Ray base.
And then he puts up another GoFundMe, this one to take care of the rabies shots. See, there's a free one, WWE. You're welcome. But anyway, those are
any more ridiculous than what they're doing now.
There you go. It's an improvement. But anyway, that is our thoughts on this week in WWE and NXT and AEW, the entire world of wrestling. Now is the point where we want to hear you, our fellow fans, wrestling enthusiasts, commentators, critics alike. We want to hear from you. So drop us a line all across the internet. Tell us what you think. What did you think of AEW? Are you a fan of the Nick Gage style or not? How is everything going with WWE? Are you glad Sasha Banks is back? And are you still watching? Leave us some YouTube comments, Facebook posts, and our personal favorite, the Twitter machines. Join our conversation there, starting at Scholars OW, our main account for all the latest episode uploads every single week. Or you can also join in on the conversation personally while following us on our personal Twitter accounts. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at the Avataric.
And you can reach me at I'm Robbie Rage. Join in the conversation with us and the rest of the Scholars crew. It's always a good time. The conversation is always all over the place. There's 4 of us right now, but there's always going to be several more opinions because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you next week for more shenanigans.